going to go ahead and just jump right in today so that we have some great time to go over all of the fabulous stuff. So Carly, go ahead and go over to the next slide for me. So just to give a quick overview of all of the incredible products that we do provide for you guys, you can see that we have our giving products, communication, and our management products. You guys know that we are always trying to grow and get better here at Tithely, adding in new information, new features for you guys. So you can see that we recently added in our check scanning and our pay products, which we are so excited about. This has been a really, really long time in the making, and we are loving it so far, and all the customers who have been able to take advantage of that. So let's go ahead and go over to the next slide really quickly. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce us to you guys. So like I said, my name's Addie. I am our Tithely University host, one of them. Sharon is my other fabulous host. And I am our Senior Technical Support Manager here at Tithely. Carly is our incredible apps team lead. She's gonna be teaching today. We are so excited to have her. She knows more about the custom church apps than almost anybody in the entire company. So she's gonna give you guys some amazing information. Then we have our fantastic Tyler Byers. He's not on video today because he's gonna just be monitoring our Q&A section. So if you guys look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's going to be a little Q&A box down there. If you guys have any questions throughout the webinar, you can go ahead and input them there, and Tyler will respond directly. He also may hold on to some of those questions for the end of the webinar, where we're going to be doing a live Q&A section. So if there are any that he's going to hold on to, he'll let you know directly, and then that will be answered at the end of the webinar as well. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off video, and our amazing teacher, Carly, is going to take it away.
All right, you guys. Well, I will just go ahead and dive in here. We're going to be talking about today push notifications, our prayer wall, tabs, and just working on tabs from the dashboard side, and sermon notes. So all of these are super high value features that you can use a lot to really have a lot of engagement in your app. So super excited to dive into all of these. I'm just going to kind of give an overview of each one before we jump into a full demo. So first one is push notifications. We have standard notifications that are just sent immediately when you submit it. You go in, add the information, hit submit, and it immediately right at that time sends the notification. We also have scheduled notifications where you can set a specific time for that to go off another day. And you can even set multiple days. You can do a recurring one as well. And of course, we'll walk through how all that works when we get there. But we also have group notifications where you can filter it by group. People can subscribe to the groups that they want to receive notifications from. Then whenever you go in to send a notification, you always have the option to filter it by those groups that have subscribed. And of course, all sent notifications are viewable within the inbox of the app. So that'll be either in the slide out menu of the app or over in the more menu in the top corner, there's a little envelope there. And of course, all sent notifications are also seen in the news feed. Now to go over to the next one, get my slides to move. Whoop, 1 second. Whoa, jumped way ahead there, sorry guys. There we go. Okay, prayer wall. So the next thing we're going to talk about is prayer walls. So there within the dashboard, there are options to enable or disable admin moderation. And what this means is whenever a prayer request is submitted from the app, you can have it set up to where an admin has to view that and then approve it before it's viewable within the app. Or you can have that disabled to where any prayer requests or comments that are added will automatically be viewable in the app immediately. People, of course, can post requests, reply, and indicate they are praying. There's a little commit to pray option on every prayer post, so they can see that number increasing as people are committing to pray. And of course, prayer requests are included in the news feed as well. So that is always there. Our next slide. It'll work for me here. Sorry, guys. My slides are being slow. But let me go back up. There we go. Tabs. Sorry, guys. But of course, with the tabs area in the dashboard, there's a lot that can be done here. And this is kind of a main hub for a lot of moving around within the app. So you can easily enable, disable, rearrange sections of your app within the tabs area. You can also add special touches like custom banners, control if an area appears in the slide out menu cards as well. If you've noticed that slide out menu, there are additional cards that show up that link to areas within the app. By default, every area is one of those slide out cards. So if you ever want those to be specific, just like 3 or 4, you can go in under tabs and make that setting. You can also control how many posts from different areas of your app appear in the news feed. So the news feed is where all activity flows through. Kind of think of it as like the Facebook newsfeed, only actually is in chronological order. But with that, you can go in and set like, hey, from this area, I only want 5 posts at a time to show in the newsfeed, and you can control how all of that is filtered there. And then of course, many areas can be toggled to display as a grid or a list. So say sermons, blogs, things like that, if they're images or like with videos, you can have that set up to be a grid to where there's squares or rectangles or just a running list. So the next area, sermon notes. I know this is highly used and a really, really great feature. Our sermon notes include comment sections, fill in the blanks, and blanks that fill in automatically with a touch, which we'll show here in a little bit. But you can also add scripture references, and it becomes a clickable reference in the notes so that it can be just touched when they're viewing it, and it'll pop up with that scripture reference. Also, notes can be emailed or saved to the device. So from the user standpoint, when they're viewing the notes, at the very bottom of their screen, they're going to see email or save notes. So those are both options, which are great. And when emailing, a PDF is actually attached to the email so that they could print that out if they want to, or save those for any other reason. So super excited to dive into actually demoing these. So now we're going to go through and play with each of these areas. So this is the main dashboard you'll see when you log in. Just kind of starting from here, we're gonna go straight into push notifications. So this is kind of your main hub when you're viewing here. We're gonna start with those standard notifications like I mentioned. So the standard ones, you just come here to send new. Fill in your title, let's say Tithely U is today, and then fill in a message. I'll just copy the same thing just to be quick there. But then you can also add a website link or an image link so that you can have a little bit more in the push notification. And then you can hit submit, and that notification will go out immediately to all of your users. Now, there is an option here to filter by groups. So there is multiple ones here. You can choose to go to multiple groups or all, and just kind of have that set up to where people who are specifically subscribed to these groups, they will receive this push notification more specifically. So if it's only related to kids, this would go just directly to those who subscribe to that group. Now, just to kind of show group notifications, I want to hop over here and show you how to add a group. So there's several added here. We're just going to add a new group and say apps training, and then submit, and then that's immediately added. So if we go back to send new, click filter by groups, that's going to be there. So you can immediately start adding it. Now, whenever you add new groups, there is a pop-up that's going to show up to any of your users the next time they open the app so that they realize, hey, there's a new group added. Do I want to subscribe to that? So that is always something that's going to be popping up as you update that. So the next area we want to look at is actually scheduling notifications. So this is for scheduled and recurring ones. So for both of these things, these are all managed from the same area. So we're going to click add new, fill in the notification subject and the full message, kind of same as the standard one. And you can filter by groups as well, same as the standard. But this is where it gets a little bit more specific. So here are your scheduled dates. So you can set a scheduled date and time. If you want it to be just one day, you can do that. Or you can also add extra scheduled dates. It'll pick up the time that is the main scheduled date and time, but you can add individual dates to add to that schedule if they aren't like a specific day like this. If they aren't always Mondays and you want them to be Mondays and Thursdays or something like that, you can add additional scheduled dates for that. Now, if you want to do a recurrence rule, you can do that as well. So what this means is it has just a rule that says, hey, this wants to be sent out weekly, bi-weekly on this day, and then you fill in the time here. Now, the recurrence rule, we're going to click on this. It pulls up this page where you can come in here and you can choose hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly for this. You can hit weekly, and then every 1 week, 2 weeks, select your day and then have end never, or you can set an end time. And then we're just going to copy this, come back to the scheduled notification and paste the recurrence rule here. So this has it set up to where it'll always on those days that you set up that recurrence rule to be on here. So we come here, make sure your time is set, but then also there's an option to set up exclusion dates. So say you have this set up as a recurrence rule that just keeps on going for forever, but one of those days ends up being a holiday down the road and you don't want that notification to go out, you can come in here and add those exclusion dates. That way the notification won't be sent out on those specific days. And then once you have all of this filled out to where you're pleased with it, you hit submit, and then it will be scheduled and set for the future. So I'm going to hop back over here to list all here and come back over here to inbox. And any notifications that are sent, whether scheduled, immediate ones, or recurring ones, they're always going to show up here in chronological order. That way you can come back here and see, okay, this was sent out, here's that notifications. You can always keep track of when those are sent out. So that is all of the push notifications, just kind of how all of that works. We are going to come down here to prayer wall next. So there are a couple prayer requests here because I wanted to show you how this worked. This is kind of how you can manage all of these. The first thing I wanted to show was that admin option that I mentioned. So here is where you can add that moderation. So you can have it set new posts need approved or approve all posts automatically. And this is where you can set that moderator email. That way you can set that a little bit more specifically to who maybe needs to manage that more specifically. So you can manage that here. Also, if there are any posts that are needing approval and you didn't go through the email, you just came to the dashboard, you can actually do that here by clicking approve post, and it will do the same thing for comments. Now, you can create a new post from here as well. Just fill in the information. Obviously, you would set it as approved because you want it to be set as approved for here. But if you wanted to go back to an older one, say this one's pretty old, so we can come in here and set it to pending approval. And what that does is that will actually remove it from being viewable within the app. That way, some older ones that maybe don't need to be in there anymore, you can go in and filter those out or even delete them. But if you want to keep them here just for reference sake, you can just set them to pending approval. That way they aren't in the app. But then you can also, of course, as I showed here, when you click on it, you can actually edit the content as well if needed. So yeah, that is everything, just kind of walking through prayer requests and where all that can be managed from. So the next area we're going to go to is tabs. Now, tabs has a lot in it. So there's several things that can be done from here. You can edit the icon that's used for the tab. You can set up either the short name or the long name. Now, the differences between the short name and the long name, the short name is for the main tabs that are these tabs here. And the long name is the default for if it's over in the more tabs section because you have more room for more text there. So that is what those two are for. As I mentioned, you can enable, disable, and rearrange them. So you just grab this on the side and move this around. You can also click this drop down arrow and click hide in more menu, this disables it and hides it from being shown in the app anywhere. Um, it will, if you have a home tile layout and you just hide it in the more menu instead of deleting it, it will, if it's connected there, it will stay connected there, but it won't break that connection, which is great. So I highly recommend using the hide in more menu option instead of actually deleting the tab if you're still wanting it to be viewable on the home section of the app as well. So that's a great thing. And then of course you can add the banners as was mentioned. You can have a image link and then copy that image link and add here to be more specific and use custom banners. All of the different tabs have that option. And then, as I had mentioned before, there's a menu card option where you can control whether it shows as one of those slide out menu cards or not. So you can come in here and say not a menu card or is a menu card. By default, it is a menu card. So it'll automatically show up there. Now, the next thing I want to show, let's slide down and find a sermons one. This will have a little bit more options. This will have, of course, there is the show as menu card option, but then also the max items and news feed. So you can, this is where I mentioned you can set how many sermons you want to show in the news feed at once. You can set it to be 10, 5, 6, 7, however you want that. And that just manages what is shown in the news feed, which is a great spot. But then also there is a option to add thumbnails if you want to list it as a have the picture on the side if you have pictures coming through with your sermons. And also the list display type, which can be the grid or the list view. And then if it's a grid, you can come over here and select the size of the squares, whether you want it to be horizontal, a true square, or horizontal tall, you can set those up. So that is all of those. With that, one thing I also wanted to mention, if we scroll all the way down here to the bottom, these are some hidden tabs. Like I mentioned with selecting that check mark, it's going to have it hidden like this. So you know the page isn't deleted, it's just hidden so it can't be viewed within the app that way. But one thing I wanted to mention down here is addable tabs. We do have a web link tab down here that you can fill in as you'd like, click the drop down and actually just add a direct link URL here. So that you can, if there's something quick you want to add, just kind of that's on your website that you just want to add for the weekend, you can come in here, create this tab, add it in and fill in the URL here, and you have a quick tab that you can do. Now these are unlimited, so whenever you hit save, another one will pop up below for that. So that is the just kind of the tabs area. There's a lot here that you can manage. There's your app pages, you can have those set, and just kind of this is your main hub for controlling all of your tabs. Now I'm going to slide over to the sermon notes. We will come over here, and there is a lot that can be done here. This is a great spot to utilize. I always encourage it to just kind of have a lot of engagement with the app, have people using it during your sermons. It's a great, great option. So I'm just going to go ahead and click New Sermon Note. And then, of course, fill in the title, author, all of those things. And then you can add a banner image link here as well. And you can select the Bible version. There's several versions that you can choose from here, and that is where I had mentioned that if you type out a scripture reference, it's going to be clickable to where it'll open up and show those couple verses just in a little pop-up within the sermon note, which is great, just so you can kind of have a quick reference there, and looks really nice. So also let's show how we kind of create them. And there's a great way to do this that really is helpful when you're viewing this. This area here makes it full screen. So it's a side by side. So I will type on this side and it shows up on the right-hand side like how it would with the app. So to show a couple examples of the fill in the blanks, we're going to do this, you, And as you can see here, it shows up as a fill in the blank and they can fill in their answer. But then also there is an option here where you can click this one and this actually gives them the answer. So what we're going to do is come here. Oops. There we go. And then this is how it will show in the app, and they can click the check mark to fill in the answer if they want. If they're like, what was that? I don't remember. They can just click that check mark and it'll fill that in so they can see the answer. Another great way to use notes is we have this option that's a fill in option. That's a note that you can come in and they can just put as many notes as they want and just fill that in and keep adding that and go through and just kind of to infinity. That doesn't have an end to it. So if you wanted to just have a one blank note for your users, just every week you can have a new one that's just a blank note for that Sunday. You absolutely can do that. So that you just fill in. If you don't want to go through and add all the fill in the blanks, you can just give them a blank note every week. I recommend doing that every week just because it will save their notes in there. So when they go back, if they just use one blank note that's always there, they can go in and actually, when they go in the next week, all their notes from last week are in there. So they're going to add on top of those notes. So it's great to have that to where it is a weekly thing that you fill in. So also with that, at the very bottom of the screen, as I had mentioned before, it'll have an email and a save option. So it'll either save it to their phone, or they can be emailed back to them. So that is kind of how sermon notes works and just kind of how all of that flows together. And then of course you can come down here and hit save. This same as newsfeed time, you can't actually control when the sermon note is actually posted. So if you wanted this sermon note not to show until this coming Sunday, you can add that and the time. So let's say, just to be sure it's there, like at 7 o'clock in the morning on that Sunday, this note will be created and added, but it won't show up in the notes section until that Sunday morning. So that's a great way to kind of schedule these so that they will show up whenever you're ready to have those viewable. That way people can't get a jump on it and have that too early. But yeah, that is the sermon notes area. You pop over here, just kind of go back to the main page, but that is all of those areas. I feel like I went super fast there, but I will pop down here. There are several other features, of course, that I wanted to mention that the app includes. There are a lot to mention, so I will try to be brief with these. But there is the events option, of course, that can be pulled from iTel feeds or posted individually on our app's dashboard. There's also sermon series, which is super exciting. You can pull that from RSS feeds or post that directly from the app's dashboard. Super media rich. You can add notes and video as well. We also have an individual video integrations area where you can pull that from YouTube and Vimeo. And just have that in there. It would be an individual tab, so it would be separate from like your sermon series and your sermons. It would be a separate tab option for your videos. And of course, we have a huge assortment of layout options. I mean, mega church style layouts, featured layout as well. That's really great. There's a lot of different options so that every church can be as unique as they want to be. And there's a lot of things with that. There's also a native Bible, or we can link into the YouVersion Bible, kind of like how Facebook jumps into Messenger. Deep linking, you can set up custom deep links into other apps that support it. Examples are like GroupMe, YouVersion, and Spotify, but we can actually set this up for any app that supports deep linking, which is awesome. And then the next page, try not to scroll too quickly here. Whoops. Okay. All right. So we have the news feed, which I mentioned several times as I was talking. It's a full area that just has all content that's happening within the app as it comes through all activities. So it's kind of your hub of activities. So whenever someone goes over to that tab, it's a main area where you can see what's happening now with the app. So it'll have your latest social media posts, latest sermons, blogs, any other content within the app, push notifications, as I mentioned, sermon notes, all that stuff will be in there so they can automatically see what's newest in the app. So it's kind of your main hub of activity. We also have the blog area that can be pulled in from an RSS feed, or you can post directly from the app's dashboard. Live stream as well, which is you can of course link your YouTube or Vimeo live stream within the app, and we'll create a chat interface for people to interact during the service. Super exciting, super fun. I gotta say that's one of my most fun features to play with because it's really great and well done. Also, it's of course compatible with Tithely Sites live stream, so there's a really great way that can be used and integrated, and we have tutorials on all of these things as well. Of course, online giving, we have easily integrated Tithely giving throughout your app. And analytics, that's a great thing to keep track of what's happening in your app, what causes the most activity, just allows you to see what's being used the most within your app, so you can kind of be strategic about it. And of course, we have photos, a whole photo album that you can add. You can upload photos and use it there. And then we have, of course, the whole plan. Tithely Church Apps plan is $149 setup fee and $59 a month, or with all access, it's 0 a month with all access if you get that all together. But that is kind of everything that I was wanting to go through. Thank you all for listening. And Addie, do you want to jump in?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carly. Such wonderful information. Oh my goodness. Love hearing all of that, those great new features, all of the explanation of our different incredible features that we have in our custom church app. So we do have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask live today. Let me just check our Q&A really quickly. If you guys do have any other questions right now, please go ahead and just send them in, and then we're going to go ahead and answer them live. So the first one from Jim Becker, can the live stream use the same setup that we use in the website? I'm not 100% sure.
Yes. So that's a great thing about showing it here in the app section. And in fact, we've got a little time, so I'm actually going to show it real quick. So if we go over here to live streams and actually add it here, there is a Tithely site option, which eliminates all those additional like settings. So you add the title just for your reference here, but the start time really is just for sorting here, but it pulls all the settings from your website. So it applies that here, and you add your Tithely website, RSS link here.
Perfect. And then we had another question. Can you have more than one moderator on the prayer wall?
Right now, it is only one moderator, just the one email.
Okay, perfect.
But anyone who has access to the dashboard, if you have multiple users, anyone can log in that has a user account on the app dashboard and manage those.
Okay, wonderful. So good to hear. And if anybody has any other questions, go ahead and send them in right now, because we do have a little bit of time left, so we can absolutely take care of that. Oh, another one just came in. Is there a live stream push notification every time you do go live?
There is not. You can set that up to be like a scheduled one. So whenever you have that set up, you can just automatically have that set to, like, say your live stream starts at 10 a.m., set up a scheduled one that automatically fires at that time. But we don't have triggered notifications based on other actions within the dashboard at the moment.
Okay, wonderful. Such a good answer, Carly. You know all your great stuff. Also, fun fact about Carly, guys, it is her 3-year Tithely anniversary today. So excited about that. Wanted you to celebrate that real quick.
Thank you.
Why don't we go over to the next slide now? If anything else comes up, just go ahead and send them in, guys, and we'll be able to answer it live as well. So it looks like Deanna just sent in a great one in our chat. The push notifications show up on the person's app only, or can it show up in the email? I believe it's just the app. Is that correct, Carly?
Correct. It would just show up in the app. That doesn't have an option to filter to emails. It just goes to anyone who has notifications allowed within the app or are subscribed to specific groups, if that's who it's specifically sent to.
Okay, perfect. And if you guys have any other questions, this is our support Tithely email. So you can just email support@tithe.ly. And just to give you guys some information on that too, we're going to be sending out a full follow-up email today, which is going to have all of the slides from today and some great knowledge-based articles as well that we're going to curate about the different areas that we did speak to today. So let's go ahead and go over to the next slide really quickly. These are our two Facebook groups. Like I said, we're going to be sending these slides, so don't worry about typing these long URLs out right now. But you guys can feel free to join those. Our Tithely Insider one is for all of our Tithely users across the board. And then we have a specific Elvanto users, which is our CHMS directly. And then let's go over to our next one. All right, perfect. So this is the slide I just wanted to speak on really quickly. Our next available webinars are actually for our Tithely Next products. So I'm not sure if you guys have been involved in these yet, but we have something now called Tithely Next, which is on a quarterly basis, and it talks about all of the new all of the new features, all of the new products that we're launching, and we are so excited to be able to help host some of these deep dives into these new products. So normally we just have another one Tithely U. This time I'm going to send all three over to you guys because they're one in 3 days in a row at 1 p.m. too. So a little bit later in the day, Pacific Standard Time, and you guys can register for those as well. So this will be included, like I said, when I email you directly, but I just wanted to give some explanation to that so that you guys can be involved in these new products that we're launching. And we're going to have some of our amazing product managers and product owners on these calls, and they'll be able to provide some really great information. All right, and I think that's everything. Let's see. And thank you. That is the last slide that we have today. Thank you all so much again. We love having you guys taking part of this, joining us for these. We know that it's so fun to be able to interact with you guys, and we're really hopeful that this answers any questions you have. And thank you again, Carly, so much for such a wonderful webinar and for such great information. We'll talk to you all very soon. Thanks, guys.